Now, please join me in welcoming today's first keynote, Michelle Goss, President and CEO of Levi Strauss. She will be interviewed by CNBC's Courtney Reagan.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us here today. Appreciate it. Michelle, thanks for doing this with me. I don't think we have the Beyonce ad? Are we gonna roll that or are we not? Are we gonna wait for that? Sorry guys, this is like this is live TV. This is like an audible. All right, we're gonna talk about it. Maybe they'll get it ready for us. But you've been
Thanks, Courtney.
Yeah,
Great
you
to
got
be here
it.
as
You
well.
got it. So you've been at Levi now for about a year, at least as CEO.
As CEO,
You were there
yes.
previously. I would just want to start with sort of what's your biggest lesson? What have you learned so far?
Well, first, I would say it's just an honor to be in this role and to be part of this brand. I mean, I think probably everyone in this room knows that Levi's, we are the category of denim. We invented denim. We're an iconic global brand, and denim is having a moment. And to be here with 170 years of history and heritage, and we always are about preserving and protecting that, but yet have so much innovation and growth ahead of us. It's an incredible moment to be part of Levi's.
It really is. And I was here yesterday with Richard Dixon, who is the CEO of Gap. And you guys have an actually intertangled history because Levi was actually originally sold in the first Gap store about 55 years ago. Obviously, you're both now large denim players. We
have about 100 years on them, by the way.
You do. You really do.
170 years.
And he had talked about going into the archives for Gap and trying to bring forward that heritage. And as you just brought that up, that kind of made me think about that. How do you take a company that has such a history, harness it, but make sure that you're innovating, that you're moving forward, that you're not stuck in the old?
Right. Well, I mean, it's absolutely critical because I think there are many examples over time of brands who have not stayed relevant, who have not stayed fresh. There's also examples who lose their way, right? And so there's a lot of nuancing of, really getting it right. And, like I said, a privilege to join. I joined 2 years ago. And the brand was already in a great place there, extremely healthy. I mean, our number one strategy we always start with is to be brand led. And what we like to talk about is being at the center of culture. And I think while many brands aspire to be at the center of culture, we're there. One could say we're part of shaping it. I mean, you did bring up Beyonce, so I'll go there.
Let's go there. I mean,
I'll go there.
I mean, culture.
She's the most influential artist of our generation.
I mean, how did it happen, first of all? I mean,
So no, and it actually speaks to when you ask the question, how do you preserve legacy? The company's had a relationship with Beyonce for decades. It goes back to the 90s when she was part of Destiny's Child. Right. And as the story goes, they were looking for brands to partner with them, and they got lots of no's. Levi said yes. And you can go back and look at their ads from the 90s, and they're wearing Levi's. And so we've had this relationship. She, years ago, jumped on the Coachella stage and was wearing 501 cutoffs.
Right.
So we've had this ongoing relationship, but fully organically, early last year, she comes out with her Cowboy Carter album, and there is a song called Levi's Jeans. I mean, it's any brand person's dream.
Absolutely.
To have a song by...
You didn't know?
We got a whisper just before.
Okay.
but it was organic. I mean, it was her team. So, but we were told, and then, in conversations with our team, we said, well, maybe there's something more here. And so we started the conversation, and the next thing you know, we launched this incredible campaign called Reimagine. What I also love about the campaign, outside of Beyonce, and she's wearing Levi's and looks amazing, is it also is rooted in our heritage. I mean, these are remakes of some of our most classic popular ads from the 80s and 90s. We just did chapter 2. There's a few more chapters coming. And I just think it really is a fantastic example, what I think of what brands need to do right, which is respect the heritage, but push for more.
And so we're talking about being brand led, and this conversation is about reinventing for a DTC first future, so direct to consumer. How do you do that in a way that is careful, being brand led, but not, shall we say, ticking off some of your wholesale partners? Yeah. Like another big company, Nike sort of made some missteps recently and are trying to back up. And what did you learn from that, and how are you doing it differently?
So I would say there's two parts. One is, yes, we are evolving to be the way we describe it, a DTC first company, direct to consumer first, not DTC only. In fact, wholesale will continue to be an important part of our go-to-market. Direct to consumer is approaching half of our business already. I mean, we have over 3,200 stores around the world. Some of those are franchised. We have about 1,300, which are company owned and operated. So we are already a DTC company. A lot of what we're doing inside the company is rewiring so that we can be a best-in-class DTC company. And as we do that well, it also is going to lift our wholesale business because DTC allows you to interact directly with the consumer. You can learn lots of things and you can bring the fullest expression of the brand. So if number one is we are making this evolution to be DTC first, number two is we're pivoting from, a brand largely known as a denim bottoms, and one would say a men's denim bottoms, men's jeans brand, to a head-to-toe lifestyle business, an apparel company, best-in-class apparel company and we'll maintain our top market share position with men and always drive relevance. But we have a huge opportunity for women's. Women's today is, in the mid 30s as a percentage. That number should be half. And so this innovation, this relevancy, we're driving that across, both genders, all genders, but there's a lot of untapped potential in women in particular.
So how are you reaching women and why aren't you there? Why aren't you there yet? It is somewhat surprising that it's not half.
Well, I do think it goes back to our history and our heritage. And hey, for decades, right? 170 years, a very successful business, but how incredible to have the strong foundation and say there's so much more. I get really excited about that. And so as we look at the opportunity, we can do both. It starts with putting the consumer in the center of everything you do. And like I said, direct to consumer, whether it's in our stores or online, give us a tremendous opportunity to learn, to reach, to innovate. But for women, I'd say my first year before becoming CEO, I traveled the world. I traveled the world with a team. I spent lots of time in stores, examined the categories. This was probably a simple example, but, going into one of our stores, we had lots of denim bottoms for women. We had very few skirts, very few dresses. We should have an iconic denim skirt just like we have an iconic 501. And those weren't key categories for us. So we start with, we should own everything denim dressing, right? And I do dress like this most days of the week, head to toe denim, as done. And it's very in fashion right now. But it's really expanding that entire denim universe and then layering on all through the lens of Levi's, the right tops, right? You need a different top to go with a low-rise jean than you do with a rib cage wide leg. And we should be the experts in driving that. And that's where our stylists, our teams in the store come in. I mean, buying jeans can be pretty intimidating.
Oh my God.
We hear that all the time,
Absolutely.
right? Like bathing suits, jeans, like right
Especially
up there.
all of us going from skinny jeans to wide leg jeans.
Right.
What am I supposed to wear?
And you want someone to kind of help you in
Yes.
that journey. And that's where our stores, our direct-to-consumer channel comes into play so well. We can hear what's going on with consumer. We can hear what they want. And if you're coming in, it's like, Courtney, what are you looking for today? And you might be coming in saying, I'm just going to go to my typical skinny jean. Well, did you know the rib cage wide leg is the hottest thing right now? And you're like, I'm going to try that. Maybe you wouldn't have tried that on your own. I was just in Dallas last week. As I said, I'm in stores all the time. And I will say that our secret sauce, it is our people, and they are so passionate about the brand. They're so passionate about their consumers, and you learn a lot. One of the stores I visited in Dallas, our store manager, Krista, well, first of all, she's got one of the highest performing stores in the fleet, and she tells us what's working, but she tells us what's not working. Need a little bit more fashion here. I need more tops. I need more blouses. I need more button downs. And you can't get that on a spreadsheet.
Right.
So I just couldn't be more excited. And you take a market like Texas, it's a number 3 apparel market in the US. We only have 20 stores there. So when I say there's opportunity,
Sure.
and there's many Dallas-like opportunities throughout the world.
See, there's a bunch of threads I want to pull on, but I want to pick up because you're talking about Krista, and I know this is store level, but obviously you have a very large organization. And your CFO recently, I can't remember if it was an earnings call or an investor conference, but he sort of said the way he looks at it, you're going through sort of your third transformation in 12 years. You've got to take a whole thousands and thousands of people team along with you. How do you keep them motivated? How do you get the messaging down to them from the CEO office strategy all the way down to Krista at that frontline store?
Yeah, so we have 20,000 employees worldwide. So that is a really important aspect of a transformation. And as Harmeet did say, yes, I guess it's our third in recent time. And it is, as we say, it's this transformation to go from what has been largely a wholesale business into a direct-to-consumer, what has been a denim bottoms into a full-on apparel head-to-toe lifestyle. Rooted in denim, of course. And we have a plan. We actually, as a leadership team, kind of updated and refreshed our plan. It's tight, it's simple, it's focused. We gathered our top 250 leaders together in May of last year, unveiled that, explained it. And it was not just the what, but also the how. And, we're an extremely values-based company, always have been. I mean, it was a big part of why I did want to join Levi's. And one of the things we did around our values, we kind of reaffirmed them, and it's all around originality, integrity, empathy, courage. But then we also added performance as a value and said, you can't do all these great things, profits through principles, unless you're performing every single day. And the power of being a DTC retailer is you get data every day, every hour. And when that's not a muscle that's fully developed in an organization, you get to practice. It's like a sport. And it's been exciting. And the team is energized because we're bringing in new tools. We're bringing in new scorecards. We're expecting different behaviors in this DTC way. I mean, we call it rewiring, and we are completely rewiring. But it's really important, when you are kind of galvanizing 20,000 people, it's not just the what, but it's they want to see themselves part of something bigger. And one of the things we talk a lot about is Levi's is not only a great pair of jeans, but we're the uniform of progress. And that is our purpose. And when you look over time and you look at all the people, all the important people, Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs, now Beyonce, that's progress, right? And gosh, like every single person in this universe should feel like when they put on a pair of Levi's that they're out there to change the world, and we want to be a part of that. That makes people, when you're part of an organization that's fueling that, it's pretty exciting.
Very exciting. Okay, so I want to go back to data and then you talking about the stylists in the stores. So obviously we've seen the silhouettes change recently for jean. I don't know how recent, but I'm still getting there, okay? So
we're in a baggy cycle.
Okay, yes.
We're sort of baggy cycle, yes.
Which then to your
point.
And
loose and wide leg.
Yeah, which then to your point can drive different shoes, but also different tops. And that's an area that you want to play in. So how do you use sort of the data of what you're seeing people either looking for or what you have available to then, help drive the stylist to help drive that sale in the store? Hey, they're buying this pant. Also, please direct them here. And hey, buying teams, we need to stock up on those kind of tops.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's what's so exciting, right? Is that we have all this data that can not only help inform what we should go and chase inside of our stores or online. Oftentimes your leading indicator, you'll start seeing it online. It goes online first. It's like, oh my God, this thing is flying out, and chase. And we did that. We we had a really strong last holiday, which was the last quarter we reported. We were 8% growth. Part of the reason why it was so strong is that we are now getting a lot better to operate like a retailer. When you see things going like online, it's going to go everywhere, and you can chase into it for your own stores and for wholesale. And we fuel it. So let me give you a great example. So we're just talking about loose and baggy. So just this past season, we introduced something called the cinch baggy jean.
Okay.
And basically what it is, it's baggy jean. It's got these little cinches by the waist, so you can tighten it up if you want to wear it high. You can loosen it up, wear it low. And this thing started taking off on TikTok like crazy.
Okay.
And then our stylists start talking about it. We helped put a little bit more juice behind it. The next thing you know, we had 200 million searches for this cinch baggie.
Searches on like a Google search or on Levi's.com?
TikTok
Oh,
search.
TikTok.
Yeah, 200 million. I mean, it went crazy. And so that's an example where our teams, real time, are leaning into it, chasing. And that is actually a product that's in multiple channels, including in some of our wholesale accounts.
Interesting. And so let's talk then about pricing if we can, because you do have different price points. And right now I feel like we're living in a consumer world where we have just seen prices go up and up and up on so many things, whether it's potentially some apparel item, but also strawberries at the grocery store. And it seems like even those of us that have more disposable income are just becoming a little bit more price sensitive. So how do you think about that with your pricing? If you want to promote, if you don't, how you keep your average unit retail continuing to go up and adding to your margin?
Well, you know what I would say first of all is Levi's, for the quality of the product, I mean, we are a very affordable brand, if you will. We kind of generally operate, sort of in that middle tier. So an average pair of Levi's here in the US, let me give you an example, will be, if you're buying it in, wholesale channel, what have you, it'll be like $50, $60, which, there are jeans that cost a whole lot more. There are jeans that cost less.
Yep.
But it is an approachable price point to start. But at the end of the day, the consumer is going to pay for quality, for value, for durability. And I mean, a pair of Levi's is going to last you a long time. And in fact, sometimes when you're buying them in vintage shops, you're paying a lot more than if you're buying it in one of our stores. But one of the things we're finding is as we continue to introduce, whether it's fashion, innovation, uniqueness, say in our mainline doors as an example, and more a higher percentage online, the consumer's responding. So especially to fashion and innovation, like we were just talking about women's, we're now commanding on average, somewhere in the $90, $100 price point. Relative to some of those other female denim brands out there, that's actually still quite affordable. But the consumer is willing to pay up for newness, for something that they don't have in their closet. To your point, are the consumers going to be more choiceful? Yes. But I think in times like this, where there's more pressure, more uncertainty, consumers also go to brands that they trust and that they love. And we're definitely one of those, but it's up to us. If the wallet's tighter, then we have to work harder. We have to work harder in driving brand relevance. We got to make sure that every single time they're coming into one of our stores, it's a phenomenal experience. And we got to keep innovating and bringing them newness and things that they can't resist buying. That's our job.
You said the consumer is going to be choiceful. Are they not being choiceful right now?
I think they always are choiceful, and there's always many choices out there. But we're all reading the headlines.
Yep.
We're all seeing numbers around consumer confidence. So we're staying very close to it. And our job, again, we call our consumers fans, when you're so fan obsessed, we're going to do everything we can to protect and grow that relationship.
And so I just want to sort of bring home for the audience that may not follow all your financials as closely as I do. The tariff impact for you all, at least of what we know today, right now, is fairly minimal based on where you source.
Well, yeah, and as you know, Courtney, we're in a quiet period.
I know.
We report our quarter in a couple of weeks, but we said at our last earnings call that, if tariffs are limited to some of the countries that have been called out, China, Mexico, Canada, that's pretty small for us, so we can navigate around that. If it turns into be something much bigger, reciprocal tariffs, universal tariffs, that could have a bigger impact. I mean, we, like everyone else, are watching it closely. This is not just a Levi's issue, it's an industry issue. But, our number one responsibility is to make sure we're taking care of that consumer.
And then we're talking about consumers and obviously consumer-led. Levi's is an iconic brand. Dare I say it's a very iconic American brand. So based on everything else that's going on in the world, have you seen any backlash to non-U.S. consumers worried about what is it going to look like if I buy an American brand? Does it look like I'm pro-America at a time when America may not be pro-my country?
Yeah, one of the things I guess I would say is we've been around for 170 years, like I said. We've been, we're the denim leader. I think we invented the blue jean 150 years ago, let's call it. The company and the brand has weathered lots of storms over decades and decades. And so, we're all, like I said, staying close, paying attention to things around us. We take the approach of we control what we can control. We stay close to our consumer. We listen. And while, yes, we're an American brand, I think people think about us as a global brand. And you go around the world. I mean, when I'm in Asia and when I'm in Europe and I see people, lots of people wearing their Levi's, many people wearing the Batwing t-shirt, it feels like a global brand. It is a global brand. We happen to have been born in America, but we will do everything we can. Like I said, our biggest job is to make sure that our brand stays at the center of culture, drives the center of culture, and continue to do things like we're doing now with such an icon of Beyonce.
And so with that, I want to ask the last question and then allow us to also show the Beyonce ad. So how then, sort of as a wrap up, do you balance celebrity marketing like you have with Beyonce to then also the social media marketing, how you're talking about how powerful TikTok had been for that one type of gene. So how are you looking at that to get eyeballs for the consumer on your brands? And what's the ROI obviously on an influencer versus a big Beyonce?
Right.
And then as we walk off, let's play the Beyonce ad.
Yeah, and we don't, again, the Beyonce thing, I think given the status of who she is, I don't know. I kind of feel like it's a once in a brand lifetime moment. We'll continue to do those things. But I mean, like I said, she is the most influential artist of our generation. But being at the center of culture is celebrities, but it's music, it's art, it's fashion. We do collaborations across multiple other brands, high end and other brands around the world. We call that driving brand heat. And so you can continue to expect to see that for us. It's driving relevancy in social media. It's marketing all these innovations. So it's reaching the consumer in so many places. But I'll go back to kind of where we started. The most important place that we meet the consumer is in our channels, is in direct-to-consumer, it's in our stores, and it's online, and making sure that we give them a phenomenal experience every single day.
Awesome stuff. Michelle Goss, thank you so much, CEO and president of Levi Strauss. And let's play the Beyonce ad.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks.